taking your notes on the color wheel on page 27, we're going to go ahead and move on to the next page. At the bottom right corner of your next page, go ahead and write down 28. At the top of your page, go ahead and glue in the color wheel rubric. And for instruction number 1, it says to create a 6x6 square that is 1 inch from the bottom of the page and centered. And what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to make my line that's 1 inch from the bottom of the page. So I'm going to go ahead and make 2 marks, line up those 2 marks, and lightly pencil in a line going across. I'm going to go ahead and find my center. So my page is 8.5 across and my center will be 4.25. Yours may be different. Okay, so once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and take my 6x6 square. And I'm going to line up the center mark on my square with the center mark that I just created. And I'm going to go ahead and trace around my 6x6 square. And if you notice, I have some lines on the outside here, so I'm going to erase those lines because we don't need those. And this is the area that we're going to work with for our color wheel. So the next step is to, for number 2, divide your square into 12 parts. So the way that we're going to go ahead and divide our square into 12 parts, we're going to line up the top left corner with the bottom right corner. And we're going to make a diagonal line. And we're going to do that with the other side also, so the top right with the bottom left, line those 2 up together. And we've created an X inside of our 6x6 square. But now we still have to divide each of these parts into 3s to make our 12-part color wheel. Now to do that, what we are going to do next is make a mark at every 2 inches on each side. Okay, so I'm going to start at the top here. I'm going to make a little mark at the 2 and the 4. And go ahead and do that at the bottom as well. Make a little mark at the 2 and the 4. It doesn't have to be a really big mark, just as long as you can see it. And do that on the left hand side as well. And the right hand side. Okay, I'm just going to rotate it just to check to make sure that my measurements are accurate. Okay, so once you have created all of those marks, we're going to go ahead and start with this one here at the top and then towards the left. And we're going to go ahead and line that up with the bottom towards the right. Now the way that we know that they'll line up is by taking our ruler. I'm going to first line it up with the top mark here, and then I'm going to line it with my center. Okay, so all 3 marks should line up together. And once you have that done, you're going to go ahead and do the same with the top right mark. Line that with the center, and that should line up with the mark at the bottom. And rotate it this way just so I can see my marks once again. So I'm going to take this mark over here, line it up with my center, and line it up with the opposite mark. Do the same with this side here. Line it up with the center and that mark over there. Okay, so for number 3, we are going to create 2 smaller squares within the 6x6 square. Now, we are going to do quite a bit in this color wheel because we're dividing it in this many portions because we are going to paint the primaries, secondaries, intermediates, and you're also going to show a darker shade and a lighter tint of each of those colors. So the next thing we're going to do to help us with dividing the area to show all those different sections, you're going to go ahead and take your ruler. I'll turn this way so you can see. And you're going to line up the 0 mark with the top of your square. And then I'm going to focus on this diagonal line right over here. And I'm going to make a mark at 1 inch, but making sure that mark stays on this line here. I'm going to do the same thing for this line on the opposite side. So I'm going to make a 1 inch mark. I'm going to do the same for this one over here. So notice it lines up where that mark is. I'm going to slide my ruler over here so I can see that my 1 inch mark will be right about there. And do the same with the other side here. Okay, so once you have made those different marks, you're going to line them up together. So these 2 are going to line up together, and you're also going to line these 2 together. And then you're going to make your vertical lines. Line those up together, and line these 2 up together. Okay, so now we're going to make a smaller square within this square that we just created, and we're going to apply the same process that we just did. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it this way. I'm going to take my ruler, and I'm looking at this diagonal line here, and I'm going to make a 1 inch mark on that line. Notice I'm lining up the 0 mark with the top of this smaller square that we just made. I'll do the same on this diagonal line here. I'll do the same on this bottom part here, and making sure to look at this diagonal line. And do the same on the opposite side. Okay, so once you have your marks, you're going to go ahead and line them up together. I'm going to go ahead and turn it this way and line them up together going this way. Okay, so now we've set up our area for our color wheel. I am going to have you label the colors around the color wheel here. So we're going to start with the very middle part in the upper section of our square. So this one here will be yellow. Next we have yellow-green. On this side we have green. Moving on to blue-green. Next we have blue. Moving on to blue-violet. In the center here we have violet. Moving on to red-violet. Next we have red. Moving on to red-orange. Next we have orange. And the last one is yellow-orange.